Mic check 1 2, it's the Boba Joe crew. Mark Lennon, Johnny Sorensen coming straight to you. Talking classic eras, yeah, we setting the scene. Films, games, tunes, toys, you know what I mean? From the old school vibe, feeling so divine. Boba Joe show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic, from heads to the toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Mortal Kombat, Predator, Scarface in the flow. Miami Vice vibes, MacGyver on the go. Alien screams, NBA Jam all night. Pro wrestling legend, shining never so bright. Macho Man Randy, Ric Flair. Yeah. Show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic from head to toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Action figures lined up, ready for the fight. Ninja Turtles power shining ever so bright. Transformers roll out, masters of the universe. Classic memories can't be reversed. Yeah, baby. Boba Joe, that's the flow. Boba Joe, Boba Joe. Do me a favor, because Boba Joe's got the flavor.
No, Boba Joe. Oh, I used to kind of miss our old intro when you changed it first, but I just really dig the beat. Yeah, I really dig the beat though of the current one. I have to say, I'm always just bopping along when I'm waiting to go live. It's like, yeah.
The nice thing is, no one can ever claim that new intro because it doesn't belong to anyone. It was generated on a music thing, so it can't ever be copyright messed around. Not the other one would, because it was from that Whiteback Audio guy whose stuff is all free. But you never know when something's going to change. Then retroactively, every single show you ever done would get taken down instantly.
Of course, when Johnny says generated, what he actually means is we paid a real artist to record that song in the studio.
I think it was
they were
Jelly
very
Roll.
well
We paid
compensated.
Jelly Roll for that one?
It was Jelly Roll. I believe it was Jelly Roll. And he gave us exclusive rights to use it, so we're good. The check is in the mail, Jelly Roll. What does it say about Vito? Well, we are going to be talking about Demolition Man. What I was just about to say is the only reason I know who Jelly Roll is because I watch wrestling. Otherwise,
that's why there is. I don't know who that old guy is. He's a fat dude, lots of prison tattoos, who's slimmed down, and now they're trying to put him like in main events for wrestling. And he's also some kind of bad country singer. He's commercially popular, but his music sounds pretty awful to my ears. But he seems like an okay dude.
Love him. The young people love him, so we had to drop that reference for the youth. We won't be doing any more youth references though, because we're going to talk about a classic movie, Demolition Man, Stallone, Wesley Snipes. It's muscle versus karate or whatever the hell martial arts Wesley Snipes is doing in this.
I like that in this movie with the dyed hair Wesley Snipes, and then you see him with his overalls, and it's like it's Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, of course we've got the lovely Sandra Bullock there. I can see her beaming smile there in the corner. She'll also be playing. She does
have that big kind of Julia Roberts kind of smile in this movie.
She does. She's very plucky and upbeat in this movie. That would be an understatement to say the least. But yeah, gonna be looking forward to getting into it. We'll have lots of fun one-liners and interesting stuff to talk about. We, of course, did our tribute to Chuck Norris last week. We spoke about Lone Wolf McQuaid, and we kind of had a little bit of a chat about Chuck's life and career in general. So please, if you've missed our show last week, be sure to check it out and give Chuck some love.
Oh, should we give just a warning at the start here in case there's any colorful language? You might hear things like fluffy duck or mother smurf or any other sounds like that.
Yeah, we may be breaking the morality code and we are in risk of getting fined.
Just be careful. Don't get fined.
Yeah, the San Angeles Police Department will be at your doorstep in no time if you're cursing too much.
So I rewatched this movie again. I think about the week of Christmas or just after that. My mum was over, and I've watched this movie so many times. But I was watching some TV show, and we had been kind of binging a bunch of those. And we're both been drinking some wine. And she said, "Oh, I had enough of that show. Let's take a break and watch an action movie or something." It was kind of just random out of nowhere. So I said, "I've got just the thing," because I just bought the physical disc, or I think it's my second version of it because it was in a combo set, whatever, with Cobra and some other stuff. So we watched it. I've seen it like 10, 20 times. It was the first time her seeing it, but we watched it again just this last December, and excuse me, really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Your mother enjoyed it. Is that right? She thought it was good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Always happy to know that someone who hasn't watched it before watches it for the first time and actually enjoys it.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
Seen it way back in the 90s when it was first out, but I didn't see it at the cinema. I saw it probably on video rental or possibly even on free-to-air TV the first time. I don't remember, but it's the first time I can barely remember. The second or third time was when I was really paying attention to it, not just as like a kind of like sci-fi action movie, but getting more of the pop culture references and the allegories and bits of background story stuff in it. Because it's a mix of like, there's a lot of lighthearted comical stuff in it, but it's got the serious kind of, like symbolism and meanings and other bullshit in it.
Yeah, plenty of layers, and as often is the case with these movies we look at, like you'll get out of it really whatever you want in terms of what you're looking for. If you're just looking for a kind of surface level exciting action movie, it will deliver the goods there. But if you're looking to have a little bit of a laugh, there's plenty of comedy in it. Or if you're looking just to have maybe a bit of an inward philosophical debate about morality and other things, because there's plenty of examples in the movie when talking about the modern society of San Angeles that kind of make you question, well, what is right and wrong, and what is moral and immoral, and when does holding up morality become repressing people's freedoms and rights just to be humans?
Yes. It's what's the word, like you got the dystopias and
utopias, dystopias.
Yeah, the other one, just utopias. And
is it a utopia or is it a dystopia?
Yeah, it's
That's
a mix
up for the audience to decide. Yeah.
But let's a quick sort of overview of sort of who's in it in the brief. We'll give like the bullet point version of the story. Like here's John Spartan's like a cop, but he's not just a cop. He's like action movie 80s Arnold Stallone, Rambo, Schwarzenegger, come on, that kind of like balls to the wall action kind of guy. And we get a really cool montage toward the start of the film of him doing a big crazy action stuff and a building exploding. He's chasing after Simon Phoenix, who's played by Wesley Snipes, who's this like master criminal, but he plays it up. It's very comic book style. It's very over the top 80s action movie. Simon Phoenix is like some kind of comic book villain. It's definitely like a wink and a nod to the audience. They go into cryogenic stasis, and so they're frozen in there for however many years. It's a long time. And it kind of calls back to various science fiction stories about someone waking up in the future outside of their own time, and that the whole world has changed and is very different. Of course, Stallone's character is a morally good person, a cop. He might use too much force, but he's basically wrongly convicted for going to prison. It was like a setup, like he didn't actually commit a crime, but he still got sentenced along with the criminal that he successfully stopped and saved lives. But yeah, wakes up in the future, and we've got this this kind of dystopian society where on the surface it appears like everything's perfect, but that's like going to a McDonald's restaurant and seeing the McDonald's playground and thinking that's some kind of model of society. Everything seems like, oh, it's happy and shiny and good, and people are smiling, and there's no crime, but actually it's just that there's more corporate crime, and there's more like ROBOCOP OCP sort of stuff going on behind the scenes. But street crime looks like it's kind of invisible, but then people very repressed. They're not really able to express themselves. the instant there's some graffiti on the wall, this little like thing pops up out of the ground and instantly paints it over again. And we see there's a whole underground society, people living in the sewers like the old Morlocks and the X-Men, and that there's a whole, the people that basically want to eat burgers and rock and roll and drink whiskey and do things that are not good for you, they've all been driven literally underground into the sewers, where they're hanging out with somebody who may or may not be an arsehole. Dennis Leary, just reference to that song there.
Yeah, it's an interesting world that they create for this. And yeah, so you mentioned John Spartan. He was kind of set up to be sentenced in the beginning because he believes that he's going into the building where Simon Phoenix is. He believes that there's no hostages in the building, or that the hostages are possibly already dead. So he's kind of going in all gung-ho, and it's only in the aftermath that we find out that, you know, Simon Phoenix, he had used some type of, you know, chicanery to make the hostages not visible to the scanners, and it turns out they actually were in the building the whole time. So when the building got blown up, the hostages were lost, and
I'm pretty sure it's
John
Phoenix
Spartan,
that blew the building up. He's still the murderer.
Yes, yeah. John Spartan, I think I can't remember what the exact crime is. It might be like manslaughter due to negligence or something like that.
They blame him, which is nonsense. Like if let's say downtown there's a big apartment building on fire and the fire brigade gets called out to put the fire out. Well, let's say the worst thing happens. It's too late. Everyone basically dies of lack of oxygen, smoke. You don't blame the fire department and send them to prison for turning up to put the fire out. That's kind of what happens to John Spartan of the movie.
Yeah, they kind of discount the fact that he's dealing with like this crazy kind of guy who's also pretty clever and who's actually deceived him and made the whole thing happen in the first place. But for some reason, that is not taken into account.
No.
You know, maybe
it's
if we're
just
reading
a setup so we
lines,
can get to him, you know, going on the cryo prison and all that.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure the present day police force was just sick of the amount of money he was costing them yearly. They thought this is an easy way to get rid of
things up.
And you know, I do enjoy though that trope of the no nonsense cop who will just, you know, he'll break a bunch of stuff just to get the bad guy, and we've seen it like
through
a
the
million
wall and
times.
strangle you.
Yeah. And you know, whether it's, you know, Danny Glover's character in Predator 2 or, you know, Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon or whatever, we like these type of cops who just, you know, like Detective John Kimball, you know,
cut through the bullshit.
Yeah,
like, Dirty Harry was on the nail. That like not to excuse real world corruption and brutality, but in the films, Dirty Harry was on the button where it was kind of showing that like cops were getting hamstrung, that the criminals were starting to have more rights than the people that were actually making into victims. And it was making it very hard to actually stop someone doing something when people have too much power, and even trying to stop them, it's like, well, what can we do? You can't do anything until after the fact, and it's too late. Have a little random factoid I learned about this movie. I'll just chuck it out there now because I know I'll forget. We'll get to the end and I'll be like, I totally forgot. So in this movie, they've got a good cast, but there's someone else who does a cameo in this movie, which you probably already know, but I either forgot or just never knew. This fella here.
Yeah. Does he have even a line? I don't think he has any dialogue in the movie.
I don't believe there's any dialogue. He's just a goon, but as Jesse Ventura. But the interesting thing is, I was just looking up stuff about this week. So credit here to Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. I just found this image. I'm not familiar with this podcast, but they're the ones who posted this maybe over a year ago on wherever. There's a prototype figure that wasn't released. That's just a dummy one painted up. So I thought it was just cool. So Jesse Ventura is from this movie. There was a dodgy figure line that looks pretty similar. It looks similar to like I think it was Bumper Talbot, but similar to the Kenner looking things we've looked at before. That sort of scale and look.
I will actually say, just since you mentioned the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, believe it or not, that podcast is actually hosted by two current wrestlers.
I recognize the name Matt Cardona, but I've never listened to it.
Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, you know, and that they're apart from being professional wrestlers, they're actually, like, no pun intended, like major action figure collectors. They have big rooms filled with action figures, and they're both pretty cool dudes, I have to say. But yeah, it's wild that Jesse Ventura is in this movie, and even though he has no lines, he's still memorable. We see him there. He's going to be shooting like the head honcho there in his little brief scene. But it's cool that he's there. But I also wish he was doing a little bit more than just kind of being, background guy. Great to see him though.
But yeah,
and I might have also forgotten he was there. Had you not reminded me.
I don't know if I've ever consciously known, like, because it's just such a blink and you'll miss it moment. But then, like, they only posted this last year, so just like, I mean, not that he was in the film, but this prototype figure. So it's pretty cool that this many years later that someone's found this prototype and then let people know about it. It's cool.
So yeah, they John Spartan and Simon Phoenix both go into cryo prison. And the idea behind cryo prison is it's I suppose, a humane way to incarcerate somebody. I say that in the surface, humane. But apart from being frozen, you are also essentially being kind of brain-fed various rehabilitation programs where it's supposed to, make you calmer and, literally rewire your brain in the hope that if you do eventually get paroled or get unfrozen in the future, you'll come out a lot more peaceful and calm and more of an addition to society rather than the type of burden you are when you might have went into cryo freeze. The idea, though, I think I might have been mentioning it to my wife. We'd been watching a reaction of Demolition Man a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of saying, it's a very lenient sentence in some ways. Like, because if you think about it, let's say you're a hardened criminal and you're in your 20s, you do some really bad stuff, you get caught, and you get put into cryo. But then, say you do eventually get paroled, unfrozen, or whatever, and you come out, you've essentially, even though you've been in cryo for like 20 or 30 years, you're still coming out the same age as you were when you went in. Like, in a way, you're getting like pretty much a second chance and a clean slate, which some people might think is unfair. It's not really a punishment, depending on how you look at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. Like, it kind of we kind of skip over that in the film to seeing the consequences of it. But yeah, it's an interesting moral conundrum to sort of stop and think about and go, well, is that really a punishment? And then it gets into that dystopian and other possible futures and what's good or bad for society to re-educate, rehabilitate people, or to let them just rot and turn into, better criminals in prison, which happens a lot in real life. And I don't have any decisive views on it. I think the main thing for me is thinking of real life prisons. Like, I can't stand people being, if you execute someone, that's one thing, but having people tortured or fucking raped or beaten or basically just, basically tortured over and over again in prisons happens to a lot of people. Like that, to me, is just like utterly disgusting. Like, regardless of what someone's crime is, I'm like, if you're going to execute them, fine, do it, get over with. But just prolong someone's suffering, that to me is really disgusting. So this is kind of going the other end of that extreme. It's like, well, you're going to go to sleep and get a free education, but you're also possibly going to have some nightmares that you can't ever wake up from as well, as you find out with John Spartan.
Yeah.
But in the case of Simon Phoenix, who is supposed to be rehabilitated, they're meant to give you like a kind of university education, things that make you a productive person in society, a good worker, drone, for lack of a better word. But instead, John Spartan comes out with the knitting skills. Simon Phoenix comes out as a master computer hacker, weapon specialist, demolitions, martial arts. He's an expert super level terrorist, basically. He knows like all the, ways to like basically be a worse, terrible person when he wakes up.
Yes, and we'll find out later that there's a reason for that. So as you mentioned, earlier, like on the surface, we have this, very peaceful somewhat happy environment in San Angeles. So apparently San Angeles came to be when there was a big earthquake in 2010, and in the aftermath, the two cities were kind of absorbed into one, and that's how we get like San Angeles. But essentially, we have this situation where, yeah, the rehabilitation program, it turns out it's not infallible, and if you do have a reason to do so, it can be tampered with, and you can actually essentially create a monster if you like, because we see John Spartan.
He was psychopath to start with, so now he's worse.
Yeah, he's worse. You didn't create a monster, but you equipped the monster with more skills.
Yeah,
you know, to
like
be
even the Simon Phoenix character, he is surprised at his own extra skills. Like he's discovering, it's like Neo in the Matrix. He's like, has that moment. He's like, whoa, I can do all these things I didn't know I could do.
So yeah, so basically what happens is Simon Phoenix is called for his parole hearing, and the way the parole hearings work in the future is you're temporarily unfrozen, so the parole officer can kind of go through the legalities with you. And you know, Simon Phoenix, he mysteriously knows the code word that opens the electronic shackles that he's bound to, so he's able to escape. And of course he escapes in a very brutal and violent way. Like he murders all the guards, he cuts the warden guy's eye out in order to use the retina scan to get through the door. And he immediately just starts killing a lot of people. The problem in this future is that the cops don't have a clue what to do, because we see the police station, and we've got Lieutenant Huxley, I believe, Sandra Bullock's character, and the computer is giving them a 187, and they actually have to look up what a 187 is, and it's a murder, death, kill. And there hasn't apparently been a murder, death, kill in over 20 years, you know, in this city. So they don't have a clue.
Yeah, well, the police are basically they're like morgue security guards. They're fairly useless. They've got no real power to do much of anything, and their skills have atrophied. If the height of combat is like your Miyamoto Musashi or your SAS specialist going off to fight some enemy, and they're trained in all these skills, they've gone the other way. There's no violent crimes. There's nothing for them to even really practice on other than each other, but they don't even do that. So they just don't have any practical knowledge of what to do in a violent situation. They're just like children.
They really are. And like Simon Phoenix, like he kills about a dozen people before they even are able to like do a basic action of going to the location where he's at to try and apprehend him. They don't have guns because guns haven't really been in circulation for a couple of decades. So they only have these little billy clubs that have like a little electrical charge on the end of them, so you can stun people, which, to be fair, as a piece of technology is pretty cool. If you had that with an armed police force, you know, it would be a nice extra tool to have. But in the future and in this setting against a guy who's soon going to have access to firearms, it's not a very useful weapon.
Yeah, even like the weapons and stuff we think of from, like you see in the 90s and 2000s sort of action movies and that, some of that stuff's in the museum now. So Simon Phoenix goes and takes some classic weapons out of a museum.
That's right. It's literally the only place he can actually get guns from is the museum. And we get this great moment where he's trying to just literally pick in the glass of the displays to get the gun, but it's not breaking.
So that's one of my favorite lines, actually. He turns to that guy and he's like, "How much do you weigh?" And the first time I seen it, I knew exactly what it was going to do.
Yeah. He lifts up that poor orderly and he chucks him through the glass. And
I was actually playing
him access to the gun.
Yakuza Sega game this morning. I was beating guys up and literally threw a guy through a window, and I was like, "Yes, it's the best."
And of course, you know, Simon Phoenix, he asked a question that we would all ask in this situation. It's like, if this is the future, where's like the ray guns and the phasers and stuff? So
the cool stuff.
He does manage to find. I think the computer tells him it's like the last ever, you know, mass-produced firearm that was created in that century, and it's like basically a like an electrical pulse gun that you have to charge up. But once it's fully charged, it's pretty much like a ionic blast cannon, big explosions, very dangerous. So yeah, Simon Phoenix, he's committing absolute anarchy. So John Spartan it's decided that if we need to catch an old-fashioned criminal, we need an old-fashioned cop, because the current generation of cops are totally useless. Like when they do confront Simon the first time, he just beats the shit out of them. He's doing loads of cool, like, kung fu stuff, and just kicks their asses. So like he easily escapes. So they come to the conclusion that John Spartan is going to be the man to save the day, the legendary Demolition Man himself. So they decide to unfreeze him from cryo. And this isn't like a universally acclaimed decision, because even though Huxley and some of the others are well in favor of it, the actual chief of police is not happy with it, because he thinks Spartan is a barbarian from a forgotten time and just too much of a savage to help
more awesome
with
time
the
shitty
situation.
future.
Yeah, it is. And of course, poor John Spartan, it's a complete culture shock to him. He can't curse or swear, which is something he does a lot. He can't use the toilet because he doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells.
Yeah, that's the biggest ongoing joke and meme. Even back in high school, I remember people were laughing and joking about that. That was like the big takeaway gag from the movie.
I don't know how you'd use them. Maybe use the like inside of the shell to scrape the shite from my arse. I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, but it's
for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
Yeah, Mark did swear then, so yeah, he's just been fined.
I did. Refresh my memory there. I think you might have the cheat sheet in front of you. What is the name of that doctor guy that actually brought in the laws and the morality that they all abide by? He's like the main dude.
Past. We have Nigel Hawthorne's the actor playing Dr. Raymond Cocteau.
Dr. Raymond Cocteau, and I also believe it is Cocteau Industries, which is his company that provide the rehabilitation program to the cryo prisoners. So he's his hands in some nefarious dealings there. So basically what's going on is the reason that Simon Phoenix has been unfrozen and set loose upon the world is because this Dr. Cocteau, he pretty much he wants to squash a rebellion that's been brewing. There's an underground revolution of people who essentially, like Johnny said, they're like the Morlocks. They're these like underdwellers that live in the sewers.
They're like the people from our times, just like the regular folk who've been driven underground, who don't want to be part of the repressive society. They just want to like be normal people and eat the food they want to eat and watch the TV they want to watch. But in this bizarre society, it's like everyone. It's kind of like I don't know, bloody feudal society or communist society, where it's like everyone does what the government society tells you to do, or else, sort of thing.
Yeah, and like these guys, they pretty much live in the sewers. They only ever really come up top if they need to steal food or essential items. They want to be able to
release a one-hit single,
drink beer. Yeah, release a one-hit dealio that will send them straight to the charts, top of the charts.
I was looking up what else Dennis Leary is, and he was like Captain Stacy in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I was like, oh yeah, he was in that. It's in quite a few things.
Oh, he's in tons of stuff.
I just forget he's in things. I haven't seen him lately, so.
Yeah, Dennis Leary, he is like his name is Mr. Friendly. He's the leader of the resistance and the man trying to keep it all together down below. And Dr. Cocteau wants him gone. He wants him out of the picture. So he is unfrozen Simon Phoenix because he thinks this mega psycho criminal is the perfect tool to get the job done. Not much forethought or planning really. No. I probably would have chosen maybe someone, yes, who was capable of killing, but maybe someone who is a bit more psychologically stable. Simon Phoenix is not very psychologically stable, as we learn quite quickly in this movie.
If you've got like a frozen Lex Luthor, go with someone further down the totem pole. Don't go top level super criminal.
And of course, the good doctor, though, he has an insurance policy, as these type of guys usually do, and basically Simon Phoenix has been programmed to not be able to harm him. So there's multiple times during the movie where we think, he's his own Directive 4 right there. Because there's a few times throughout the movie where we think that Simon is just going to kill him out of pure frustration, but he can't actually pull the trigger because the mind programming won't allow him to do so. I'm sure at this point, eagle-eyed viewers notice that underneath my name tag today it says Taco Bell or Pizza Hut. Do you know why I've asked that question?
I don't remember. I remember there's something in the movie about that. Like, are they combined or something in the movie?
I'll tell you what it is. So in this movie, and the version that most, like for American audience,
it's an international thing.
It's an international thing. So at one point during the movie, the good doctor invites John Spartan and Huxley out to dinner in Taco Bell. The reason he does this is because he says that John Spartan saved his life when he came across Simon Phoenix, who was about to kill him, even though, as we know, that wouldn't have happened because he's programmed not to kill him. But John Spartan doesn't know this, so he accepts the invitation to go to Taco Bell. And the reason they're going to Taco Bell, which by all accounts in our present real life is a complete shithole of a franchise, the reason they're going to Taco Bell in the future as a fancy restaurant is because apparently there was a big franchise wars and Taco Bell won the franchise wars. So now every restaurant is a Taco Bell.
Yeah, that's it.
They're like a high-end restaurant chain now. But depending on the version of the movie you watch. So over here,
that doesn't exist in New Zealand, Australia. There's no Taco Bell. It's like, what?
Taco Bell does, and it didn't exist over here in Europe either. And I believe the first Taco Bell actually only opened in Ireland either this year or at the end of last year. So it's like a brand new thing over here. So when I watch Demolition Man, the word Taco Bell is actually dubbed to Pizza Hut. So when I watched Demolition Man, they went to Pizza. It's still the exact same scene, the exact same restaurant. It's just that they got Stallone and the other actors just to redub the dialogue.
I don't know if I've seen the Pizza Hut version. It's always been Taco Bell, the ones I've seen.
Yeah, it's pizza. So even on my European DVD, like it says Pizza Hut, and you can even see that like it's bad dubbing. Like they didn't even reshoot the scene; they just dubbed the words over their mouths. But yeah, depending, like I said, on where you grew up, where you watched, or what version of the movie you watched, they either went to Taco Bell or they went to Pizza Hut.
So I wonder then if there was some kind of promotional tie thing, because a lot of movies back then had Pizza Hut giveaways and toys and Ninja Turtles and shit like that. So I wonder if there was some promotional thing going on.
There might have been. And it's
especially in Australia and New Zealand, Pizza Hut had a lot of promotional. Pizza and Domino's both used to have a lot of promotional stuff to do with it. Not even necessarily a toy thing, just movies that were out. Maybe you win a ticket or stuff like
that. Well, look, I knew what Pizza Hut was. I wouldn't have known what Taco Bell was. So look, they probably made the right choice there. At the very least, I would not have gotten the joke, because the joke does work with Pizza Hut as well. Like it is just like your common as muck fast food franchise. So for it to be like a high-end restaurant, the joke would have hit, I'm sure, just the same way as the Taco Bell joke hits for the American audiences. Of course, meat and the like has been outlawed because it's bad for you. So is salt and butter or anything that gives you cholesterol. So you're getting these like tiny plates of like vegetables essentially served to you as your main course in Taco Bell. But it's a funny moment. Funny that there was a great franchise war. I reckon McDonald's would win that if it was real life anyway. They probably just couldn't get a McDonald's license.
I mean, they're all terrible food, but as far as branding and real estate, it'd be McDonald's. I think I don't know if it's meant to be also I never known how popular Taco Bell is in America, but like I guess being where it's located, well, in the movie, like LA and all that, like you've got like the population people from Mexico and that. If you've got more people coming in, it would make sense that geographically, like more people would like that food over like McDonald's, even though they're all kind of shitty versions of real food.
Well, I hear Taco Bell gives you the runs. That's what I heard, so.
Well, I remember occasionally you'd see like, I don't know, David Letterman or something in the 90s just play on TV, but it seemed, I never knew anything about Taco Bell other than that's the one they kind of made fun of. So maybe the gag is they were like the least successful, but then they won the war in that movie. So I don't know if that's meant to be another kind of meta joke there or not.
The restaurant scene, though, is also the kind of moment in the film where John Spartan begins to really put together that there's a lot kind of going on here, and maybe a lot going on under the surface, no pun intended, than the general population is aware of, because he notices that Friendly and his crew, they basically come out of the sewers, they attack, and they're raiding this establishment that's close to the restaurant where they're all eating. So John Spartan goes out to try and stop them, and he realizes that they're actually only stealing food and like essential supplies.
Yeah, they're not criminals. They're just trying to survive.
Yeah. And so he begins this read between the lines. He'll also later on watch the video footage of Simon Phoenix confronting the good doctor in the parking lot or whatever, and notice that he doesn't kill him, which also raises a suspicion that he's had about the doctor. Before we get to all that, though, we do have an hilarious moment where Huxley and John Spartan are in Huxley's domicile, and he tells Spartan, she's just up front, she's like, there's always been a correlation between violence and sex, and after witnessing you in action, you've essentially turned me on. So she wants to know what you like to have
she
sex
is from the beginning of the film. She's smitten not just with him, but the idea of him, and she likes culture from his time. There's a scene in the movie where you see a poster from Lethal Weapon and other stuff from like his sort of time.
Yeah, she is she's loving what she's seeing, and she just flat out asks him, "Hey, you want to have sex?" And he's like, "Yeah."
He's like,
"Who
"Yeah,
wouldn't want to have sex with Sandra Bullock?"
Like, I've been frozen for a long time.
Yeah. So unfortunately, though, for John Spartan, sex in the future isn't the same as sex in the past. You basically put on like VR headgear.
And it's those 90s type VR helmets that everyone thought it was going to be back then.
And you get like flashes of like nudity and people touching. And I'm guessing it's giving you sensations because, she does give him a towel to clean himself off. So I'm guessing if they went through with it, it has to do something
with the future, but it's kind of like that Lawnmower Man era VR. It's like, oh yeah, that era.
But when John Spartan is not too thrilled with this virtual sex, he asks her, "Can we not just do it the old-fashioned way? What about boning or doing the wild mamba, the hunka chunka?" But she's not having any of it. She thinks that fluid transfer is disgusting, and she reminds him that it's actually illegal, and that even kissing is illegal. And he's like, "Well, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be a man." And he tries to kiss her, and she's like, "Get out of here, you savage. Get out of my apartment."
I think they mentioned it, like, isn't all breedings through like fertility clinics and shit, and to reduce diseases and all this. And
yeah, so they're kind of hinting at eugenics there, if you read between the lines. Yeah. And because you need a license to have babies, essentially. So, which I believe we spoke about a little bit when we did our Starship Troopers talk as well. I believe that was the situation in their future as well. You needed to have you needed government permission basically before you could.
It's
have
like
a
the
child.
ultimate government as like babysitter for everybody, and no one can make any sort of independent choice or think for themselves, because it's like, oh, you might hurt yourself, or you might make a disease, or you might,
One thing that at least now, maybe you notice, I don't know it, I don't think it's ever specified in the movie. Do we know if this type of government structure exists outside of San Angeles?
No, we don't really know. It's presumed that it would be similar otherwise, because it's not like a Judge Dredd situation. It's not like they're all mega cities. We presume that most of America would be similar, I would think.
Yeah, a scary thought, you know. We only got to see it within the confines of one mega city in this movie, I guess. But yeah, so we got that funny moment between John Spartan and Huxley and the VR stacks. There's also a funny moment where he goes to make a phone call, but he calls the wrong number and he gets to see a bit of nudity for a second before the lady brings up her video phone. But yeah, so Simon Phoenix, he ends up kind of hatching a plan to essentially take over. So he asks the doctor guy, he basically goes, look, I'll take down the friendly guy for you, but you know, he's not going to be able to do it alone. He needs about 4 or 5 other guys who are also in cryo to be unfrozen to help him. One of whom who will be Jesse Ventura, who we mentioned earlier. And the doctor, who of course is like an idiot, agrees to this. Big mistake to agree.
What about
to
Associate Bob? He
guys.
contributes a lot.
Yeah,
the
guy that's in Beetlejuice. Like, it's like, I know that guy from 2 things: Demolition Man and Beetlejuice.
And he always seems to be the same kind of character. It's a bit of a twit.
But yeah, the doctor actually agrees to unfreeze these 5 or 6 other ex-cons, these cryo-cons. Now, he's doing it because he thinks that they're going to help Simon kill Friendly, and they are going to help him do that, but they're also going to help Simon in another way, and that is to kill the doctor, because as we mentioned earlier, Simon can't pull the trigger himself because he's been programmed not to, but these other ex-cons haven't been. So unfortunately for the doctor, once Simon decides he's taking over and wants rid of him, he just gets Jesse Ventura, I believe. His character is the one who actually pulls the trigger.
I think, and there's maybe in his programming, did he get to see the early episodes of the Ninja Turtles where it's like, hang on, miniseries, we can use our weapons, but now the next ones, you have to do like one of those, what do they call those, Rube Goldberg machine things. I've got to hit a plank that hits a thing and a bowling ball rolls along here and hits the bad guy and that knocks him out. Like, he figures it out. It's like, well, I can't do this, but I'll get this guy to do this and they'll take care of my problems.
This is the safe for TV version of taking care of my situation, you know? So things then, I suppose it swings into overdrive for the latter act of the movie, because we've got Simon Phoenix and his full-on gang. They're armed to the teeth, and they're probably going to take over the entire city unless they're stopped. So it's up to John Spartan to do his thing, and you know, one by one, he does end up taking out all the other cryo-cons before there's like a big showdown with Spartan and Simon Phoenix. And there's a nice touch where at the beginning of the film, we see that like Simon Phoenix, he has loads of gasoline on the ground at the factory and he tosses a cigarette in to cause the big fire, which causes the explosion and all that other stuff. But at the end of the movie, it's the opposite end of the spectrum, because we got a load of leaky cryo stuff. So instead of burning, we're going to be doing a bit of freezing, and it's actually going to be Simon who gets frozen, but not frozen in a nice kind of humanitarian, you're going back in the cryo way. It's
kind of way.
Frozen like as in loads of cryo juice falls on him, freezes him, and then Stallone busts his head off his shoulders. I
love that. I love
beheads him, essentially.
Those practical effects of something frozen and then they break open. It's like Mortal Kombat 2, that Sub-Zero fatality. They freeze them, they just like shatter him and all the bits of the guts of the.
It's fun as well, because at the start of the movie, when John Spartan is trying to interrogate Simon to find out if the hostages are in the building, like Simon's like, oh well, you know, I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached or whatever, you know. And then it does end up happening to him. He literally does lose his head.
I love the little it's got great one-liners and humor and good serious stuff balanced with humor and then repercussions of violence and all that. It's got such a mix of different elements that work so well.
if you're taking like all things into consideration, so going by what we know, that doctor guy is killed by Simon Phoenix. Simon Phoenix and his crooks are defeated. And also we get to see that Dennis Leary, Mr. Friendly, his rebel people are kind of going to come up to the surface and
they've got their greasy
reintegrate
bloody
with society.
silhouette burgers and they're running free, man.
What do you think though would be like the aftermath? Like if there was that story?
Oh, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be chaos, but I think eventually it'll settle down again.
You think they'd have to have like what can they do really? Because
spread disease, I guess.
John Spartan, you'd have to make
STDs because they've been in the sewers.
Yeah, there'd be loads of bad stuff would happen. You definitely would have to make John Spartan.
I think they actually should probably go into quarantine, like not, I mean, temporarily to actually like, you know, de-lice them and you know.
Yeah, you've been living in the sewers eating rats for like a long time. You know?
There would be. I think the first thing wouldn't be criminal problems. I think it would be like a public health problem. Need some quarantine and give them some shots and hepatitis shots and shit like that.
I wonder. Yeah, well, look, like I said, they'd have to make John Spartan like the police chief or whatever, because you're going to need a tougher cop presence now that you're kind of letting these undesirables come up and live on the surface with everybody else. I'd like to think that he became a man of the people who eventually, you know, got into politics and maybe led some legislation to have that like ban on real sex reversed, or, you know, let people eat meat again if that's what they so desired.
Yeah,
maybe that's one of the better things.
With like a tent city, like real life LA.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might actually end up with the world that, you know, they left behind prior to this. But there is, like, you know, like we were saying at the beginning, there's a lot of layers to the movie, and you could kind of like, because even as I was kind of saying it there about the meat, maybe it is a good thing
when you first watch it, and like, oh, it's a bit of cheesy action movie, a bit of sci-fi, and there was a bit of a trend in the 90s of, you know, science fiction stuff and adapting older stories and whatnot. But I think it actually stands up pretty well when you watch it. The different kind of meanings and symbolism like work even probably better now than then.
There's also a funny moment where Huxley is giving the Demolition Man, John Spartan, a bit of a history lesson, and she happens to mention the Schwarzenegger library. He's like, well, what do you mean the Schwarzenegger library? And she's like, oh, you know, and you know, whatever year Arnold Schwarzenegger became so popular that they did the 63rd Amendment, which made it so that a non-national could become president of the United States. And of course, John Spartan is disgusted by this revelation for some reason, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a reality where Arnie became president of the United States.
I wouldn't object. You can't do a worse job than the other bloody monkeys living.
He can't do a worse job than what's been done already, you know. And at least the speeches would be always entertaining. That would be like, you know, appointment viewing to listen to a Schwarzenegger.
I wonder if there's in the Demolition Man universe, is there an Arnold statue to go along with that somewhere?
Oh, there has to be. There has to be. Maybe former President Schwarzenegger isn't dead and he can like visit San Angeles in the aftermath to congratulate John Spartan. I always love that as well in both Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies where...
Well, in Last Action Hero.
Yeah, like Last Act, but I just love there's always that acknowledgement of each other, or there is a lot of times, or even in Twins, you know, when Arnie's walking down the street and he sees the poster for Rambo 2 and he's like comparing his muscles to Stallone and stuff. It's like...
Yeah, I think they're probably mellowed a bit more by the 90s, because in the 80s they were more direct competition, and well, it's not like they're really seeing each other in person or anything. It's more like you're going for a role or there's a concept out for a movie. But in Schwarzenegger's biography, he said, yeah, he did intentionally fuck with them as far as producers and films trying to, in the way that like in wrestling, you're the guy that's on top, you want to stay on top, and whoever else is trying to get up there, they're trying to kick him away and say, no, I'm in this position, get out of here. So it was that kind of rivalry, but in the 90s they kind of mellowed out. Plus they had the partnership with Jackie Chan and Bruce Willis for the Planet Hollywood, so they had a financial incentive to, you know, sort of
to be decent to one each other. And you know, I have to say, as a as a long time action movie plan when they did actually have a proper go together and Expendables 2 on screen.
And
like, that was a good
movie
deal.
one.
That's right. But yeah, like, you know, as I was about to mention briefly there, like there was probably some elements of life in that future San Angeles. Look, it probably is a good thing not to eat salty food and not to eat too much meat. And you know, there are things.
Well, I know whiskey's not good for me, but I drank half a bottle of it this week. So it's not coming.
And even like, you know, the general look of the streets, they are kept clean. You know, there's nice green areas.
Like, what's his name? Singapore, which is just north of Australia. Like they have very harsh laws around littering and stuff and other things. But anyone who ever goes who have been there will say it's very clean.
They have the self-driving cars as well, which is kind of a thing now.
Yeah. And they don't crash as much in the movies, though.
They don't. But like, yeah, so like, it's like, obviously, yes, there's that whole dark undertone of keeping the people in society that you don't like repressed just so you can kind of live your luxurious lifestyle above. But yeah, look, it's tough to just outrightly say, oh, it's a horrible future to live in, because, you know, I'd rather live in Demolition Man future than like live in like fucking, you know, Total Recall or Terminator or
definitely
don't want to. Definitely don't want to.
It's got the worst of everything. That's where just like the criminals rule,
and where you can just, you know, you can die very easily at any time in your overpopulated, you know, cesspit. But I don't know, like there's so much to it, like, and maybe it is a kind of a bit of a kind of like, let's make fun of the stereotypical cop that blows things up action movie as well, because they do just point out the amount of destruction. Because, you know, like early in the film when they're going through like John Spartan's kind of rap sheet, and it's like, he caused millions of damage, he blew up this, he blew up a mini mall.
If you follow the action movies from the 70s, 80s, like we talked about Dirty Harry a while back. I mean, in that movie, he shoots a guy and he stands on a guy when he's bleeding and he jumps on the bus at the end. By Dirty Harry 4 or 5, he's got a fucking bazooka and blows up a tower. It's like, what?
Constantly upping the ante, you know. And, you know, it gets to the point where, they're not cops. They're not even super cops.
They become sort of cartoonish, you know, and comic booky over the top.
So, but I do like the way this movie kind of, like in that action universe, they were like, no, we've had too much of this. These guys are just causing too much damage, you know.
I think it works really well because I love a good parody, and I like good humor, but it's better when humor has something intelligent to say. It's not just making a dumb joke for the sake of it. So a good, well-written parody thing that works on different levels, as well as having the science fiction elements, is rare, I think, to have a good film that stands up on those different levels.
Still a good looking film as well. Like, it's aged well visually. It does look great. And there's nothing, I'm trying to think, there's not too much in it where I'd say, oh, look, that's very dated, or
the effects are good. Well, most of the effects are practical effects still. I think there's occasional, you know, like your John Carpenter Escape from New York monitor graphics sort of vectors, you know, there's stuff like that here and there. But it's mostly practical effects.
Yeah, it's great soundtrack as well. Like, just a nice score to it. Gets the blood pumping. But no, it's just, I never mind revisiting it. Like, and I'm not like, I'm a big fan of it.
I never get bored of it. I've watched it so many times.
Yeah. Like, it's not like my favorite Sly movie, but it's definitely up there in the upper tier Sly movies.
And I think
and Wesley Snipes too.
Yeah, I was going to say he's great in it, and I'd put that in his upper tier of films. Like, you've got like the first Blade, or Blade 2 are both great. Third one's a piece of crap, as anyone involved in it will tell you. I always forget the name of the one who's in the early 90s, because there's two. One's called King New York. I think that's the Christopher Walken one, but there's a similar one. Is it like New Jack? Is it New Jack City? Is a similar film with
New Jack City?
The crime king. Yeah, that film's fucking great, and that's excellent film. He's in some other earlier stuff, but more kind of bit parts. Like, you know how certain actors are like, you know them for being like good actors or good roles, but you'll watch like early like Spike Lee films, and of course you'll see like notable black cast who'll go on to be in bigger films later. So sometimes you get earlier cameo roles for certain people, but there's Passenger 57 was just Die Hard on a Plane. That was another good Snipes one from that era. Average, but perfectly watchable and good.
He's got a real presence about him.
Yeah, I fucking love him. Like, like when I say get 7 a movie, and because he's like he's smart and he's cocky and like and Blade, and he's like some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Both of me and my mum just burst out laughing when he says that. And his martial arts skills are awesome. Like his kicks like sell really well on screen. He knows how to like kick and do a move and to look good on screen. Like it's excellent.
We definitely need to push Blade down on our list of future.
Yeah, he's just like effortlessly cool when you see him as Blade. It's like he was just born to play that role.
He's perfect Blade, just like Hugh Jackman was kind of like a perfect Wolverine.
Yeah,
he's like
much
the perfect Blade. He was just made.
It was awesome that he got to come back in Deadpool 3 for a cameo for a little bit.
But yeah, it's a grand performance really by all. And look, even the like some of the lesser characters, like even Rob Schneider's little funny character is a grand laugh. Just a good all round watch with Demolition Man, and it's like I said, you'll get out of it whatever you want. If you want to kind of just have a bit of a laugh and watch a over the top action movie, it will do the trick there. Or if you want to have a bit of a think about the morals and the rights and the wrongs of how society should work.
I'm exercising my rights. Look at that DX logo up there. Stuff here, THX.
That's a lot of logos going on.
Yeah, that's my right to graffiti the cinema. Sorry, I've ruined the back of some of those seats.
Here's the real franchise wars happening right here behind us. What is on the cards for next week's episode?
What do we got coming up? So we're on a bit of our big and beefy action dude sort of kick. How about some cop next week? He can do the splits, this fella. Not me, him over there. Not me. I can't do the splits.
He can do the splits. He can. You go traveling through time using that car thing, but you can just come back using your little wrist remote control. But yeah, no, looking forward to Time Cop. Yeah, it's a special one. It was kind of like a TV regular for me back in the day. They must have gotten the rights for it. Must have been pretty cheap for our terrestrial TV to pick it up. But it hits me in the childhood feels, so I'm going to be very happy to rewatch it. Also good that we're getting back to Van Damme. I believe we last checked in with him when we did Bloodsport, was our last Van Damme movie.
Yeah,
and before Bloodsport, of course. Last
week I watched like bloody Hard Target, the Somewhere to Run or Nowhere to Run. He's running somewhere, and I watched the bloody Quest. Which the Quest is almost like a kind of another variation of that one because it's another martial arts tournament.
Of course, our first experience with Van Damme in this show was when we did our Street Fighter, the live action movie.
Sorry about
as
that.
Well. So,
it might have been
not his finest hour. But still, if you want to hear our thoughts on that, I will also plug that show. I had a good time talking about that Street Fighter movie. So
apparently, Kylie Minogue had a good time on the set of that movie as well.
Oh yeah, I'd say she did.
Well, my missus collects Kylie Minogue stuff, and she read the interviews and stuff. Apparently, she did have more than a good time.
Hey, well, look, I had a good time looking at Kylie Minogue in that movie. Definitely. And the lady who plays Chung-Li as well. Ooh la la. My God. Beautiful. And look, we're going to see a pretty lady in Time Cop next week as well. It's that girl who's in like Legend and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
So, looking forward to a bit of JCVD for next week's show.
Excellent. Well, we'll be back next time, or next crime in this case. Hopefully it won't get frozen.
Yeah, let us know what you think of the Demolition Man. Do you like the world they created? Do you like the movie? Do you like Sly Stallone? And yeah, I'd love to hear about it, about your thoughts. And don't have any immoral thoughts. Don't curse or write swear words. You will be fined. And just make sure you clean up after yourself after you use the seashells in the toilet.
Yeah, definitely clean up. Don't leave a big old big.
The hell is that?
Fucking. Oh, sorry. Big mess in there.
Don't leave
Okay.
fecal matter in the seashell.
Okay, we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care, guys.
Oh, sorry. I tried to click the thing, but it's moved. It's moved on me because I played that silly sound. This time, we're out of here.